Hello everyone, Just History Guy here, and today I'm going over the top 10 best story-driven games, in my opinion. This is not my best games list, nor is it the order I would rank these games as a whole, but how I'd rank their respective stories. So I could like number 5 more than 1 overall, but one story to me is better than 5, at least at the moment. And as always, as I said, this is my personal opinion, with one game per franchise, and there'll definitely be games that I'm forgetting. So let's get into my personal top 10 video game plots, with 2 honorable mentions that I had on the list but thought of different games, so they fell off. And that's The Witcher 3, an excellent story in a war-torn world where you're tracking the Child of Prophecy and facing off against the Wild Hunt. But honestly, what made this game stand out to me was the incredible lore, interesting backstories, and the pages of history on monsters.
Things like me.
Honestly, I struggled to get into the game at first, as I'm not really a big fan of the gameplay structure. I know, don't hate me. But the lore and story kept me invested in this game. So that's why it deserves an honorable mention. Next for the honorable mention is Digital Devil Saga, and I know I've talked about this game a lot, so I'll keep it brief. DDS's story is so engaging for just how much the characters change and the mystery of what this world really is. In a desolate, dystopian world called the Junkyard, where rival tribes battle for supremacy and the right to ascend to Nirvana, with a lot of lore from Hinduism in the game, and it's just something super cool. As one of the 6 tribe leaders in the Junkyard and the leader of the Embryon, you and your inner circle become embroiled in a mysterious transformation that turns you and every single person in the Junkyard into half-demon that have an insatiable hunger that can only be resolved by devouring the other people in this world. The game deals with some heavy topics and questions, and I love how it all plays out. What is the Junkyard? Who is Angel? And what caused all this? Trust me, try it, you won't regret it. But now, let's move on to the real list, as I was about to just make this a top 15, but eventually stopped myself because, well, I need to get a move on. With that, number 10, Suikoden II, the PS1 jrpg classic that, of course, has fun combat and 108 recruitable characters that all look super cool. But we're here to talk about the story, and wow, this game is immersive, especially for the time. One thing to keep in mind in this game is that war is, well, hell. I'll just start with the game's very beginning to give you an idea of the scope and narrative of this game. You, a member of a youth brigade, settle down for the night and talk with your fellow comrades, best friend Joey and your commander about the armistice having just been signed, the beginning of peace and the end of war. But a few hours later, you wake to the sounds of battle and horrified cries, discover the camp aflame and most of your friends dead or soon to be, and your commander a traitor. And frankly, it only gets better from there, with an absolutely amazing antagonist for the game that has one of the best PS1 JRPG fights, and the game is just filled with interesting politics and shows the true scale of conflict. It's a great classic title that everyone needs to play. Next, we have number 9, Trails to Zero. Now, I know people say its sequel has an even better story, but I haven't gotten to the sequel yet, and it's been pushed back to the backlog with so many great titles coming out and me just being busy. But don't worry, I'll get to it, because the first game follows Lloyd Bannings, a new member of the Crossbell Police Department. Lloyd has returned home after 3 years and joins the Crossbell Police Department. Upon joining, he enters a brand new division that's looked down on by the rest of the CPD. But Lloyd and his new comrades continue to fight to make their city a better place. As they do, however, they slowly come face to face with the criminal corruption gripping their city, and little do they know just how deep the shadows of Crossbell go. Honestly, the story and characters from this game, as well as with all the games in this series, are so amazing and fun to experience. With such a realized world that it's shocking. I mean, almost all the NPCs have their own story and react with tons of dialogue to what's happening in the game. I've never seen a game series like this one that just feels so lived in, and I guarantee you that this game and its sequel will be known as classics down the line. Number 8, God of War 2018. The mega hit revival of the action series that deserves all the hype it gets, and I guess also the first non-RPG on this list, so hey, way to go it. God of War 2018 is completely different than its predecessors. It's perfect in what it tries to do and is an excellent soft reboot. The game follows Kratos, the Greek god of war, and his son Atreus as they come to grips with the world and each other after the loss of Kratos' wife and the mother of Atreus. Kratos does not know how to raise his son without his wife, and the player learns with him. This journey of family and also action-packed adventures. You pummel your way through Norse mythology, with Atreus learning his true heritage. Honestly, it's a super fun and great game. Number 7 is Yakuza 4. My first ever Yakuza game, and still my favorite in terms of narrative so far. Honestly, all the Yakuza games are fantastic stories, each feeling like the next season or chapter in a gritty Japanese crime saga. I have played 1, 0, 4, and 5, and I can tell you the characters are cool. The stories are awesome, and 4 has you playing 4 different character perspectives. Our main man, Kiryu, the Dragon of Dojima, who has left the criminal world but just can't seem to prevent being pulled back in somehow. As well as a slick loan shark, a corruptish cop, and a death row inmate, and man, all these guys are super fun. All these stories also weave together perfectly with mystery and intrigue, and all meeting up at the end, and oh man, that ending that brings it all together like I hoped Game of Thrones would do, but failed. It's just the piece de resistance, as they say. This game just nails what it tries to achieve. Number 6. Mass Effect 2. Now, I assume most know this title, the golden child of BioWare's epic sci-fi space opera. The game starts with a bang, recovering the dead or dying Commander Shepard, with the galaxy thinking he's gone, and you taking on the role of Shepard in this new mysterious organization, where you begin collecting allies, shocking old ones with your survival, and just frankly living throughout an astounding sci-fi universe that has so much lore. The story of Shepard and his fight to stop the Reapers was so good, and I think some people have started to forget how truly special this game was, and the series as a whole. Honestly, if you're looking for a sci-fi epic, look no further than Mass Effect. Now, entering the top 5 was Spec Ops: The Line. Now, I'm not sure people expected a third-person military shooter to be included on this list, but that's only if you haven't played Spec Ops: The Line. This game is an underrated gem, and let me say that again for the people in the back. An underrated gem. You may start this game thinking it's just a normal military shooter, but oh man, pay attention, and this game will show you things. Make you think things that are dark as all get up. You take on the role of Captain Martin Walker and his team of Delta Force soldiers who are sent to a destroyed, post-catastrophe Dubai. The game deals with what war can really be and has many themes of duty, sanity, the true meaning and cost of war, mental health, and I refuse to spoil this game, but who's the bad guy? Who is the villain? Because, man, this game will make you question everything you thought you knew. And what a ride it is. Next, we have Final Fantasy 9 and 10. Now, I know cop-out, and I will be officially putting Final Fantasy 9 here. But I wanted to mention 10 because I went back and forth on this, and I do think that Final Fantasy X's world is a bit more fascinating, and the sacrifice behind Yuna and Titus's story is so compelling, with the best FF love story in my opinion. But Final Fantasy 9 just was the perfect game at the time I played it. I don't think there's a more perfect Final Fantasy story. The story just succeeds in its character relationships and personal stories. Every single member of the party is endearing and interesting in some way. You might think at first the story is pretty standard, and the on-paper goals maybe are, but, and I mean but, the characters and their interactions are so far above other games. The story just told a tale that no matter what is happening in your life, the tragedy, the dirt, the seemingly pointlessness you can sometimes feel should not stop you. That you can and should find a reason and resolve to live your life to the fullest. And I find it a little inspiring in a way. Every character in this game is different from where they started. And if there's one Final Fantasy I'd point to and say, this is Final Fantasy, it would be Final Fantasy IX. Number 3 is Nier Automata. A great action JRPG with some incredibly deep themes. With a world that can feel dead and deserted, so unbelievably alive that it becomes a marvel. But what really makes this game stand out is its characters and themes. The game deals with such existential themes of what it means to be human, what is purpose, how is life given meaning, and so much more. With somehow all this being done without being pretentious at all, but deeply, well, deep. You think about things in this game that you would never normally think of, and at least for me, I felt it in my soul. Our MCs 2B and 9S also have many great moments and interactions, which can be enjoyable, wholesome, and tragic all at once. The game is just packed with content, with 3 different main campaigns that you unlock one after the other, and heck, I wouldn't have minded more. Keep playing after the credits roll, because when you first see those credits, the game hasn't even started yet. Number 2, The Last of Us. A game we all know and shouldn't be a surprise to be here. The first game in the series was something I have never seen when I played it in 2013. It sucked me in immediately and never let go. The game is a post-apocalyptic story after a fungus-like zombie outbreak that has destroyed our world. Now we see the start of this, but the game takes place mostly 20 years after the apocalypse. So we see a world already fallen, one with little hope and a world being taken back by nature. The beautiful landscapes in this game are awe-striking, with concrete jungles crumbling inside actual jungles. Some beautiful moments in this game come from just animals and nature. But the true heart of this story comes from the family and the father-daughter relationship that forms between Joel and Ellie. And I'm honestly a sucker for family relationship drama stories. The relationship that grow between these 2 characters is so great, and the ending was such a shocker. Also, that beginning, man, I'm not afraid to admit it, a bit of water may have gathered in my eyes. Now, finally, number 1. And it's Persona 4, yes, no shocker here, I put at the top again. Unless, like the others, and even more so with this game, has some heavy bias of what the story and characters meant to me. The murder mystery and relationship of these characters just had me invested from the start. I played this game a few times, and every time I'm wowed by just how much you can be invested in the characters and their relationships. In this game, you move to a new town in the countryside where you go to make friends and, oh yeah, fight the shadows of humanity in a TV world with your persona, a magical manifestation of the facade you put on for the world. When I first finished this game, I felt a hole in my heart that can only come from finishing something truly great. If you haven't played this game, I wholly recommend it. And real quick, I also want to add the P3 remake is so good, and I'm playing it right now, so you cannot go wrong with any Persona game. So there were some other games I wanted to put on this list, but I just couldn't justify it to myself over these 10. And heck, maybe a game or 2 even escapes me now, but all these games are fantastic stories with intriguing characters and worlds that you can just lose yourself in. And with that, I'm Just History Guy. Please like, subscribe, share the video, and comment your favorite story game below. It really helps, and I love to see them. Have a great day.